Okay, thank you so much, Ivan. So team FEP, please make it very fast. When they call upon you, please come fast. Where's the other mic? After FEP, FinHub, you prepare.
Hi everyone, Asimwa Maureen, Kawes Patrick and Anita, Team Financial Education Platform for Women, and Yuzaki. So we have 3 cases here. User, who is going to be any woman or women, is going to register or creates an account, logs into the platform, accesses the learning content, takes quizzes, tracks learning progress, manages expenses, and manages savings. Then the financial institutions, they can access our user wallet and receive payments from the user. Then the administrator will manage the content, manage users, configure the platform, and manages payment gateway. User flow diagram. So the user will log in. After logging in, we get the user details, then we check authenticity. If it fails, goes back, logs in. If it registers and its success comes to our platform, then we are notified, and this user is going to access the content, everything that is on the platform. Either logs out or maybe does the what? Accesses her mobile wallet, yes, like that. Then maybe she can log out. Let's go. Data model. Then the data model, this is the relationship. The relationship between the customer and the product, it's many to one. Many to one. So many customers can access a certain product. at a certain period of time. Then we have a relationship between customers and the financial institutions, between the financial institution and the payment and the service providers. Then the journey map, the stages of journey, activities. We want
Good afternoon, everyone. The customer journey map of financial education platform. The stage of the journey is a motivation. A customer will be motivated to access learning materials, to track their expenses, and also manage their savings. So they will be motivated to access the internet, and they will type the keywords in the internet relating to what they are looking for. Then after, they will be very excited to look for the materials. Then after searching the internet, they will be unhappy because of different options which are available, or different tabs which are gonna be provided. Then customer or anyone will click the first option, that is search engine optimization. They will check out different materials, different services which are provided by the platform, and they will be very excited to access the materials. Then they will evaluate the system, services, and finally they will either subscribe to the premium or pay for any services or make different transactions according to what they want. The experiences, the customer.
Thank you so much.
Are you proud of your presentation? Yes.
Yes.
Right? Okay, we have some comments for you. So we still have so many other teams to go through. Kindly go back and read through the comments. Okay? All right. FinHub, quickly. A round of applause for Feb.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Team FinHub, and I'll go straight to the point. This is our use case. We identify two actors. That's the student and the admin. So the student is able to log in, pay membership fee, save the money, and request for loans. But when you request for loans, you have to complete your personal profile, because we don't give loans to non-students. So you're also able to view financial documents and withdraw money. On the other hand, the admin logs in, he verifies the loan requests, he verifies the student's profile to make sure they're actually students, and he uploads the articles that these students will view for their financial knowledge, and he also views the summary of all the data transactions that take place in the system.
This is our student saving journey map. So
an example, I'm looking at a fresher who has just joined campus and doesn't have a laptop, and they want to save for their laptop. So they are informed about FinHub, so they download the app, then they sign up, and then they are required to pay membership fee. But at first they are reluctant, but they later pay because they know what they want. Then after they set the goal, the time and when to withdraw the money after the goal has been reached. Then after they explore the saving tools, they transact the money either from their mobile money to FinHub account. So they keep seeing the progress of how far they have reached saving towards their goal, and they continue interacting with the app so that they can keep connected with the app. Then if they kept financially disciplined, they later achieve their goal of saving for their laptop.
Okay, so I'm looking at Mother. Zahara has told Mother about the FinHub app. Mother has downloaded the app, so I'll start with the part of signing in. So when Mother downloads the app, she will start with the onboarding screens. She signs in, she signs up actually, then she registers. Having registered, a verification code will be sent to her email. If she's Mother, like her email says, it will have to confirm and she will have to go to the payment of the membership fees. But then if she has not verified the email, she will have to go back to the sign-in. Then after paying the membership fee, she will have to look at the 3 activities. What has she come to do with FinHub? Has she come to save, to get a loan, or to withdraw? You're welcome.
Thank you. First come and see. Okay, so you go to the other. There's something I don't understand with the data model. Data model. The articles. Are you selling articles?
They're just, we are offering financial knowledge, so it's just articles that they'll be reading on.
Thank you so much, FinHub and Financial FEPW. Our mentor is here, so we are now going to go for mentorship session. We resume at 3, the remaining teams, yeah? When you come here, just go straight to the point. Just present the diagrams, be very fast. Don't look here and there so that we can give everyone an opportunity to present. Ms. Angela, please, you're welcome.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. Are you okay? Tired, not tired? Full from lunch, not full? Okay, so I'm sorry, I lost my voice today morning, so in case you can't hear me, just tell me to be a bit louder. My name is Masi Angela Nantongo. I'm a product manager, so today we're going to be talking about product management. But I want our session to be a bit interactive, so I'll ask questions and I hope you put up your hands and answer. Also, if I speak too quickly, just tell me to slow down. Sometimes I forget. That's it. Still loading. Okay. So today we want to kind of just introduce you guys to product management. So by show of hands, has anybody heard of product management before? Yeah? Only one person? 2, 3, okay. Even you? Okay, cool. You too? All right, so is anyone willing to tell us what they think about product management? Like, what does it mean? Okay, I guess we can start. So how will I? I should give you a brief history of myself before I start asking questions.
Sorry, Anja, to interrupt you. Please let us slant our laptops a little bit. We don't need laptops right now. Don't close them, just bend them a little bit and let us try to pay attention.
Thanks. Okay, yeah. So before we start, a slight small introduction. You already know my name. I'm a product manager. I also like to call myself an emerging media technologist. That just means that I dabble in new media. So, you know, audio, video production, websites, and stuff like that. That's what I did in school. Sometimes, depending on the role I'm playing, I will work as a project manager, but there is a difference between the two. So if you guys want to explore that, we can also explore how you can differentiate between a product role and a project management role. As a product manager, I've worked on FinTech solutions, I've worked on access to markets, and I've also worked in e-commerce. And the industries I've worked in, currently I'm working for a non-profit. I just moved there. Before that, I was working in agricultural technology with a company called Easy Agric. I've also worked in FMCG, which is fast-moving consumer goods, so for a company that did retail and that stuff. And then I've also worked in marketing with marketing technology. So I have experience in a number of industries, and I think it serves me well in my role as a product manager, because it means that I'm not too specified in one thing, that I can't broaden my perspective. So today we're just going to be talking about what it means to be a product manager. So for me, it becomes who is a product manager, what kind of person embodies the role well, and what I personally think works for me that makes me excel in the role. We'll also discuss what a product manager does and, you know, the things that are entailed in that kind of thing. Then we shall talk about why product management is important as you're building your business, as you're building your products, and how it can inform the decisions you can make to be successful. And then we shall talk about how to thrive as a product manager. Okay. So back to the question I'd asked. Can someone tell us what they know about product management before I give you my perspective?
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Nachsanze Daisy. Yes, FinTech's Empowerment Hub. Okay, it's a website that promotes financial inclusion among women in Africa. Okay. Yeah, what I know about product management is, it is the process of overseeing the creation and successful launching of the order system.
Thanks, Daisy. You can speak.
Right, thank you. I'm Peter Waswasemakula. What I can say about project.
What's your product?
It's called eFuel.
Okay.
What does
it do?
It lends fuel to border riders.
Okay.
So product management, according to me, I would say is it's a process that includes designing, developing, and executing a product throughout a product life cycle, like the development life cycle, to ensure that that product meets the customer needs. All right, thank you.
Cool. Thanks. Over there. I'll come back to Ori. The name Hi.
Hi, my name is Lisa Kaitesi. Our product is Mama's Daily Cookie. I am a product manager. So product management is a business process that involves the planning, developing, and managing of a product while focusing on the product itself and the customers. So it's majorly the product life cycle, overlooking it.
Yes, good afternoon, all of you. I'm Linda Namanja Patricia. So, in my opinion, product management involves many things. I could say it's a process that involves going through the product life cycle. That is the planning, or the designing, development, and also the deploying. And also it pushes to the also marketing goes under that. That's all I know about it.
Does somebody have a definition that does not involve product life cycle, or we're now? All right. So I think pretty much all the definitions I've had are quite what product management is about. It does involve the product life cycle, and it's kind of you become the caretaker of this product, but from the customer's perspective. So I like to say that a product manager is the customer's voice within the organization. And different people will be like, but then what does, customer success or customer support do? What does marketing do? What do the research people do? Yesterday I had a new one. Because I moved into the nonprofit sector, someone was like, but that's what M&E people do. But it's not. It's just that you end up touching a bunch of these things and then trying to figure out how do you fulfill the customer's needs and requirements with all these different groups that work at building the product. So quickly, the difference between a product manager and, let's say, customer support is usually customer support deals with after sales. So after you have convinced the customer to start using the product, that's when you can hand over the product to, let's say, customer support or marketing or sales. But before you validate that this is exactly what your users want, usually it's the product manager who is in charge of most of these processes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Happy from Safe and Free, and I have a question for you. Safe and Free is a web platform that offers affordable and stigma-free sexual reproductive health services to the youth. So I would like to ask, what's the difference between a product manager and a quality analyst?
Has everybody heard her question? She'd like to know what's the difference between a product manager and a quality analyst. So depending on the organization you work with, for some QA, which is quality analysis, people will work with a development team. So there will be developers. So if the company is big enough, they will write scripts, and these scripts, you guys know scripts because you are coding, yeah. And these scripts will go through the requirements that were given and then make sure that they fulfill the user story. So they'll run scripts to kind of debug or test the bugs and then make sure that the thing is bug-free before it's released into production. In other companies, it's a manual thing where the developers will say we are done with the requirements, and then somebody will actually test it out before it goes into production. Production is the term that developers use for things that are ready for public deployment, right? So a product manager, I have played a QA role before in terms of we didn't have enough staff in the organization. So when I gave the developers what to do, they gave it back to me and I tested to make sure it fulfilled what I wanted it to do. And that usually then even ties into what we call a user acceptance test, which is what you can do it in-house, but then also you go to the user who commissioned the work and say, can you test our product and make sure it fulfills the things that you thought it was going to fulfill? Yeah. So sometimes, as a career path, people will move from developer to QA, quality analysis, to product analyst, and then to product manager. It just depends on how you start and where it's to start. But yeah, so QA is usually involved strictly with making sure that this product that you guys are about to deploy meets the standards and the quality that was planned for when you started the sprint. A product manager will make sure that works, plus other things, right? Makes sense? Any other questions? Feel free to ask me questions anytime. As I said, I want this to be interactive. So where was I actually? Okay, yeah. So product managers are touching on different points and life cycles of the product. And that starts from development all the way to post-launch. So until you have commercialized, which for different companies means different things, but until you're at a point when you feel like the product can grow on its own, most likely a product manager is still going to be very highly involved in making sure everything moves. So you'll be the one liaising with the developers, you'll be the one talking to the marketing team, you'll be the one getting buy-in even from the staff within the company. Usually when a company gets big enough, there will be people who are like, I don't know what your thing does. And when there's an issue, they're like, your product does not work. So you have to get buy-in from the staff so that when they are facing the customers and talking about your product, they are talking about it in good ways and not saying, Nange simanyi why they're forcing this thing on us. You get it? Yeah, because it happens. At least it has happened to me. So, what does a product manager do? There's things I call obligations, there's things I call skills, and there's things I call deliverables. So when I talk about obligations, what I mean is your job is to find data-backed problems. So I could have said to find problems, but sometimes somebody's using your website and they're like, I don't know why the color is not green. Then you're like, oh my God, every customer wants the color to be green. It turns out it's actually only one person. And then now all the other guys are like, I don't know why they changed the product. So because I'm very much into tech, I have like my favorite apps. Like Twitter was one of my favorite apps. Now, I don't know. One of my favorite apps in Uganda is Safe Border. So anytime they make a new UI change, there's usually a bug. So I call my friend and I'm like, guys, why did you. So sometimes it's just one customer who is complaining about a thing, right? And then you think this is a large-scale problem that you need to fix and spend resources on. So what you have to start learning how to do as a product manager is you collect all these different problems and then start segregating them into high priority, low priority, medium priority, depending on how many people say they want this new feature, how many people say this problem bugs them, how many people say that they want this change or this roll back into the previous version of the product. So you need to find data-backed problems, and data is numbers, so that you make the right decision, not just on sentimental value. Another thing that a product manager has to do is you have to plan and execute solutions. So once you find problems, you then start to realize you don't have enough resources to fix everything at the same time. And resources in development or building a business, if it's a tech business, it's going to be, do you have enough developers or engineers to do the work? Do you have the money? For example, if you want to scale and say we want to move to like AWS, do you have the money to pay for AWS? If you don't, you're going to, keep it low level. So you need to figure out, do you have the developers, the money, the support staff before you make a particular decision? And also time is a huge resource. So a lot of the time you start to figure out, okay, what are my quick wins, things that I can get done in 2 weeks sprint or a month, and then I roll that out fast as in the background we are working on the things that are going to take a longer time. So you have to plan and then prioritize the problems. There are different matrices that people use to get to how to prioritize on high priority, medium, and low, and then after that you execute. So execution is sometimes you're like, okay, we need this new feature for A, B, C, D. So for example, it's safe and free. You can realize people want maybe interactive games, right? Like in terms of they want to interact with the content versus just reading it. Maybe they'll understand it better if, they click this, they get a feedback. Then you figure out, okay, do we need to put it there or do we not to put it there? Like, is it urgent? Is it not urgent? Is it important? Is it not important? Can we afford to do it? Can we not afford to do it? Because sometimes also what happens is we get stuck in the idea that our first product has to be perfect. So you're like, unless my product, calls on these APIs, I won't release it. let's say Momo APIs. I'm sure you guys are working with, mobile money APIs in this hackathon. You could say we won't launch without us having direct integration. But direct integration could take you, let's say, another month. But you could technically launch today. My advice would be launch today with the systems you have, set up your codes, whatever, and then when somebody clicks order, you call them and say, send the money to this as you're building, versus you sit on, your heels and wait until the very end when you have everything in place to then roll out. Because usually what happens is problems keep coming. There's always going to be bugs, there's always going to be blockers, so it's best to push out and then fix as you're rolling, but then prioritizing it right is what matters. The other obligation that you have to have as a product manager is you need to meet your users' needs or your customers' needs. Because at the end of it all, that's your boss. Your job is to represent them in the company, so you're their voice, which means you are extensively talking to your user, and then when they give you feedback, and it's data-backed because many people have asked for something or have complained about something, your job is then to figure out how do we, as the company, make this work for our users so that we can keep them happy. There's something my boss used to always tell me: people don't pay for things they don't want or need. So if people are not paying, it's because whatever it is you're offering them is not it. You get it? It's not because they have no money. People pay for data these days. Remember those days when we had Facebook Zero? Now you're hooked, right? You're paying for data every day to okay, I don't know if people still use Facebook, to be honest, but you get what I'm saying, right? So when people want or need your product, and that's because it actually serves their needs, they will pay for it. So you have to make sure you're always meeting their needs, because otherwise you're just building for your personal comfort. And the other thing that a product manager you have to really focus on and be serious about is you need to meet your company's business needs. So actually your job is to meet the customer's needs and meet the company's business needs. So whatever it is a customer needs, it has to make monetary sense for whatever it is you're building. You're not a charity, you don't have grants, though you could have grants, but grants are supposed to help you get to a sustainable level where your income can sustain the company. So you always have to make sure whatever it is you're doing, is it going to help you and the organization earn more revenue? So if you have decided that our job is to, I don't know, let's say it's an e-commerce company, and you're saying that the goal for this year is to make this amount of money in revenue, either with subscriptions or with commissions, depending on how your model is. If whatever it is you're building is not working towards increasing the revenue to that set number, you're doing nothing, because you're not meeting the business's needs, which means the business could crash and burn, and you'd have no job. So make sure what you're building for the customer fits into what the business also needs. Cool. Does anybody have questions about these obligations? Nobody? You guys understand everything? Okay. That's good. All right. So skills that I think are important. You have to be very empathetic. Does somebody know what empathy means? Okay. Someone tell us. Someone who hasn't spoken before. Okay.
Okay, empathy means putting your shoes in the legs, or putting your legs, putting your legs in the shoes of the user. Yeah.
So can you give me an example for your product?
Okay, now for my product, ForExpress. First of all, what you do is that we are going to ease cross-border financial transactions in Eastern Africa. So now, of course, I'll first of all imagine, what would my user want? One, you're stuck. You need a forex exchange company that can instantly convert your currency, right? Yeah, convert and send, right? And then also looking at other forex companies that we already have at the moment, you find that most of them are very expensive, like most of them are, have all those inconsistencies and all that. So now me as a product manager, I'd be like, okay, well, what does this customer need, you get? What are the challenges that they're facing with other apps? So what can I bring, what new thing can I bring on board to solve that problem? Yeah.
Thank you. So thanks for letting me know about ForExpress. How do you say it? ForExpress. Hi, guys. That name, eh? So, funny story. At the end of the last year, as in Lagos, it was at the very beginning of when they were removing cash from the economy. I don't know how it is now, but because of that process, their money, okay, they've also been having a lot of bad inflation, but it's gotten that much worse. I think earlier at the beginning of 2022, it was like 1 to 10, so 1 naira to 10 Uganda shillings. Now it's almost like 5 or 6. It's that bad. But when I was there, I couldn't get more than 200K equivalent out of the ATM. And I did not go with money. Don't ask me why. So I needed money from the ATM. It wasn't working. So I figured I should sign up for one of these apps and move money from Uganda to, I tried Send by Flutterwave. I have Eversend. What other app did I try? All of them. I signed up, and that was the end. I heard back from them about my sign-up process 2 weeks after I'd come back to Uganda. So those are one of my issues. You don't have to answer that question. I'm just telling you, that's an issue your customers will have. I think a lot of the time, the quickest onboarding you're going to have is somebody who currently needs the service, not someone that is thinking about the service but needs it immediately. So if your customer is stuck somewhere, needs to move their money, and then you're going to get back to them about their sign-up, you have all the verification things. You've gotten the ID, everything. Why is it taking 2 weeks for me to get the money? Anyway, just know I didn't buy anything in Nigeria at that time. I just came back and I was like, guys, sorry, forget about it. But yeah, so that's the thing you have to look out for. How quick is your onboarding process? Otherwise, that's the end. All right, cool. So you have to be empathetic. You have to be very strategic. Because you're going to meet the needs of your business and the needs of your customer, you have to now start figuring out, for me what I call it is you speak the language of the person that is listening to you at that moment. Usually as a product manager, you have to report to the senior management team or the C-suite, as other guys call it. When you're talking to a CEO, you're not telling them like low-level problems of, Nantongo failed to sign up. They want to know, okay, how much money is Nantongo bringing? You get it? So when you're speaking to senior management team, you're speaking to them in the language or the words they want to hear. When you're speaking to your user, you're being empathetic and being like, I understand what you're saying, we're working on it, those things. When you're speaking to your colleagues that are going to help you make your product successful, like the developers, you're going to probably want to know how to speak to developers. I usually tease my developers by telling them they speak in very 1 zeros. It's like, do X so that I get Y. They don't want to hear that why you want to get Y, yet it would help them maybe inform how they're building. But all the time they're just like, give me instructions, I give you the deliverable. So speak to them like that as well to move your work along, right? So you have to be strategic in your communications, but then also in the things you choose to focus on. You have to optimize. There's a question. Sorry, my bad, I'm blind.
Thank you. We are talking about being strategic. My name is Mariam Dagire, and from Team If You Will. You were talking about being strategic, striking a balance between the customers and your company. Imagining there's always going to be conflicting loyalties that are coming up. Which side are you going to side with in case you can't strike a balance between the two? Thank you.
Give me an example with if you were when you'd have conflicting loyalties.
Let's say it would be more easier if I used like a big company and for example, I work with any IT company and they have rolled out, let's say, your budget to like 12 million, and you go out into the market and your customers need this thing that is going to be way more than the budget. But as you communicated, we are developing for the customers, so you have to include them first. How are you solving that? Are you siding with the customer or you're working within the means of your company?
Before I answer, does anybody want to answer her? No? Okay. So usually why there's budget constraints is because somebody is not yet convinced that this thing you think the customer needs is as important as you're making it, right? And also, just on the side, the budgets are always going to be cut. That's especially tech budget. Nobody understands what tech people are doing. So you have to prepare. Even in tech companies, finance doesn't want to hear about your things, you know. Eh? So you have to work within the budget. There's no way around it. And you cannot work on that thing because of the money. So you need to figure out, okay, in these things the customer wants. For example, you could say the customer wants a whole new, let's use a watch, smart watches. They want a whole new watch design. This one is not working currently. You can't change that. But can you change the interface of the current watch you have to a little bit mimic what you get? Eh? So what I would say is, in that major thing you think the customer needs, there's probably little different parts, like part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5. Find the one that's going to be the most impactful for the customer. So what is it going to be that is going to convince them? Let me give these guys a chance. Work on that first. Work on that first, you get the traction from the customer end, then you can push and ask for more money this side, because now everyone is seeing what you're seeing. Yeah. But a lot of the time, the money is never going to be enough. Even you'll be like, I need money to go to the field and talk to the customers. They're going to be like, no. So are you going to call the customer? Are you going to email them? Or are you going to just be like, let's chill? You have to make that decision. Yeah. Okay. So optimize, which is kind of that, right? Work within the budget. So optimize with the resources you have so that you figure out how do we deliver what the customer wants, even if it's not the entire thing. How do you deliver half of what the customer wants that will make them 80% happy? So there's this theory that people have, which is 20% gives you 80%. It has something else, like it's not exactly that, but it's like 20% of the work gives you 80% of the deliverables. So same thing with, optimizing, yeah? That 20% of the grander thing is actually what the customer really wants. All right, another thing is you're going to evaluate, which is just using data to back your decisions. So when you develop a product, put it out, you launch it, you have to quickly start tracking the things that are important to you. Is it usage? Is it like time in app? Some people think sign-ups are okay. Some guys are like, how long does my customer stay within the app? Because that's when I can trap them into something else. So quickly start tracking your metrics and then evaluate, is this thing successful or is it not successful? If it's not working out like you thought, dump it. Literally just let go. So as a product manager, you have to be, what is it called in Luganda? You have to have a mtima, eh? You can't have a mtima munafu, eh? Like, because you work so hard on something, you believe it's the right thing, and then customers don't care. They really don't care. They're not using it. They don't want to hear about it. They don't care. They're not paying for it. So you have to quickly let it go and start working on something new. So even with your building now, you keep getting feedback from, the technical people that are going to help you. And once you realize it's important to let it go, just let it go. Maybe you can come back to it 2 years later when it's the right time in the market. But yeah, you have to advocate for the customer. So sometimes you get pushback from senior management, from finance, from the marketing, from the sales team. But if you're really convinced that this is what the customer wants, you have to stand up on your 2 feet and be like, no, this is what we're doing. It doesn't matter if you are, a product associate or a junior product manager. You are the most important person for that product you're running. So you have to be able to stand up to people, no matter who they are, and say, no, this is what the customer wants. It fits within our company's priorities, so we're going to work on it. Otherwise, you move like the wind, and you'll never deliver. So you have to advocate for what is right and stand up for it. All right, market. So I really believe that for a thing to launch properly, people have to be ready for it. And sometimes you have to induce the readiness, right? People are not always ready. Sometimes people don't even know their problems. So you have to be really good at sweet talking your customers. One, to test out your product for you to get, beta results. But also to try it out, and then you get results. So that okay, I talked to this group of, 10 potential users, convinced them to use it, and now they're happy. And even before you commercialize, you still have to get a few paying customers. Usually, if your product is for paying, right? So you have to convince those first few paying customers to pay. And that is before you involve the marketing team and the sales team. It's going to be your job to market your product and talk about it so well that people are convinced to give it a chance. Right. So, anybody have any questions about the skills you need as a product manager or something I might have missed out? Nope. Cool. Deliverables. So these are very abstract things, but it is what it is. You're delivering on the vision, on the strategy, on the design, and the execution. So because you own the product, or rather you're guiding the direction of the product, it means you're the one who is going to guide its design. So if you're lucky, you're working with a UX designer or a UX researcher who goes out into the field to talk to the users with you. If not, you're going to do most of that work. So you have to really know what the customer said they want. And sometimes people will tell you, no, I want the color to be green or orange so that I associate it with these things. Yet what they actually mean is I can't read the words, like it's actually the font that is the problem. But they're telling you, no, I think if you change it to white or gray, yeah, right? So you have to actually start thinking like your customer. Empathy helps, but you have to start thinking like them until you figure out what is the actual problem they have. Not what they're telling you, but what is it the actual problem they have. And then that guides your design of how you should approach the product. Now, once you design the product, you also have to guide the developers on how to build the product. So some people use user stories. So you say, the user would like to ABCD. Then the developers figure out how to make that work. It works well in some scenarios, sometimes it doesn't. So I use a hybrid depending on which kind of person I'm talking to. There's some developers I have to tell, make the button this size. Otherwise, they're going to give you an alert that takes up half the screen, yet it's like a secondary alert, right? Like a successful. Imagine successful, but it's like half the screen. Some devs will do that for you. So sometimes you have to be very specific about how the design should go and how the execution should go. Other times you can just say, the users would like to pay with mobile money. Then the devs figure out how to do it, the UX, the UI, everything. So it depends on who you're talking to and their level of proficiency in design and thought process, really, and also what you expect from them. So they execute, they deliver back to you, you test, you launch, you roll out, and then you wait for feedback from your customers. What that means is the customer using the product the way you wanted. Sometimes, especially if you're working for people who are not as who are not digitally literate as you are, you could say, oh, it makes sense for, the logout button to be here. But then you go out and you're watching your people use your product and you're realizing everyone is looking for it somewhere else. You have to move it, okay? You don't stick to your guns and be like, me, I know it has to be here. If every user you have is looking for something in a different location from where you have it, and you have observed it multiple times, data backed, right? You have to then work for their needs. So this works a lot for if you have clients or end users who are, in remote areas or don't have as many skills as you want. Even actually sometimes the interaction iPhone users have and Android users have is very different. So if you've ever switched between the two systems, there's things you do and then you're like, why is it not working? But that's not how Android moves, you get it? So you have to be very particular about how you're designing and for your actual user and how they act. So a lot of the time people actually do a whole persona. I think you guys have done it here probably. But you know how your person is. They wake up in the morning, scroll their social media, do ABCD. This is how their day runs. Now where do you fit in within your customer's day? How do you make it more convenient for them to come and, So if you know that you get your customer easier by embedding in another product, embed in that product. Don't be opposed to things like collaboration and stuff like that. Because if this is where you best fit into the person's work day or lifestyle, that's where you should be. All right. Deliverables for strategy, I think we have talked about that. Vision is the vision of the company. Where do they want to be? If you know your company wants to be the best for your product in East Africa, and then you're building and your code has had written UGX things, like, you know, like UGX, it's had built, or the phone numbers, you have hard coded the 256, so you can't put 254 eventually. You're not building for the vision. You get what I'm saying, eh? So if you know you're scaling, you can build some things for scale. If you know that you want to put other, like build other products on top of that, let's say you're building for now, let's say you're building like a mass transit app like bus, and then you know that eventually you want to sell travel insurance. Don't make the thing so difficult that when you want to now include travel insurance, you have to build a whole new app. Build for scale, build for the vision of the company, build for the unachievable dreams, right? Okay, cool. We're going to talk about why, but I think we have kind of been touching on that. Why is a product manager important? I have this thing that I use. A product manager is like the mother of a child, right? There's teachers in school teaching whose specific job is to teach knowledge in particular subjects. There's doctors whose job is to treat diseases as they come up. But as a mother, you're teaching. As a mother, you're healing. You get it? So a product manager is like a parent. Let me not be gender biased, but you know, mothers are best. But a product manager is a parent, right? A parent guides their kid, they direct them, they teach them, they scold them, all these things. They are like the main manager. That's why many musicians end up having their parents as their managers, but it's a bad decision. But a product manager is like the way your parent would kind of guide you through childhood to make you successful. So there's other people who are in place, like marketing staff, like customer service, like engineers, like designers, etc., that are going to help you make sure that this product is the best thing ever. But you are going to be the northern star. You're going to be the guiding light until commercialization, when you can move on to other things. So for me, that's what a product manager is. It involves things like giving direction, insight, strategy, support, etc. I'd like to hear from you guys. What do you think a product manager is? Or why do you think a product manager is important for the work you're doing? I'd like to see raised hands. And I'd like to hear from you who is a product manager. Why do you think you're important for your...
All right. According to our product, I would think a product manager is so important because it would really help us find out whether the product is going to meet the needs of the user as expected, because such information would also help us to see whether we can make money out of our product, because that's the main goal at the end of the day. Thank you.
So do you have a product manager within the eFuel team, or is someone?
Currently, no.
Okay, who is doing that work then?
Someone else who's not around here.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Is there any insights you'd like to give us about what you thought the customer needed and then what you're doing now that you have done some research?
Actually, before us coming up with the idea, we had to first ask a few border riders, and they got the idea of always getting fuel on loan and pay later after they have worked. So, and we are trying our best, of course, to come up with a digital solution that will do exactly that. Yeah, but according to them, it was a good idea. And since we are doing it for them, then why not? Thank you.
Thank you. Somebody from this side? Okay. But also somebody who has not spoken yet. Otherwise, I'll just pick on somebody.
Hi, once again. A product manager, on my end, I usually compare it to project management. As much as they're different, there's a bit of a similarity with project management. So as a product manager, it's important to have a product manager because it helps the other people, the other team members, to be able to achieve exactly what they were supposed to achieve, like going through the entire process from the planning. Without the product manager, most of these people will be either lost or they will be doing something that is not needed. So the product manager helps it like stay in line.
Thank you. Pass up the mic, should like to speak. So as the mic is coming up, I would like to talk a bit more about the difference between a product manager and a project manager. If you've heard of the word Scrum Master, that's what a project manager is, right? Their job is to make sure you fall within the given timelines, the given budget. Like you work with the resources or the constraints that you have, since most times resources are constrained. So if it's a large enough organization, as a product manager, you will have project managers that are working on that. Let's say, like for example, Twitter homepage, right? That's a product. But Twitter homepage also has the tweet box, you know, the one where you actually say what is happening. Let's use Twitter homepage on web. It has the tweet box, then it has the timeline, then it has the side which has the trending topics. You can find that all those things could have different product managers. And or it will have one main product manager, but then they will have different teams, like developer teams working on those different things. So a project manager will keep them in line with, we were given a 2-week timeline, you're going to make it work, and then, so like that. So with the product manager, usually they won't tell you to think too highly or too strictly on budgets and things. You're supposed to be thinking for the customer and thinking big. Of course, eventually you have to scale it down because you have to give something that's going to work for the company. But usually, your job is not very tied on the controls. It is on the, what is the output that is coming out? Does it work for what your customer wants? So yeah. You may speak now.
Okay. For me, like you've just explained, it's like he or she is an ambassador of the users of that particular product. Like for example, our product manager is not with us here, but he gives us feedback from what the users want, and he makes sure that whatever is taking place in the production team is in line with what the users want. He updates us. He does pilot studies in different areas and tells us you should change this, this, and this. Yeah.
So what feedback have you gotten from your users since you started working on this?
Well, good enough. It's very positive. There is a lot of positive feedback coming from the users, especially the target market. Of course, he moves in the target market, so they're like they've been waiting for such a product to start using it, and we are the answer now.
Okay. I can't wait for the final showcase. But guys, look for problems, okay? Don't think that, oh, if users are telling you everything is okay, they're lying. Things are not okay. It's very rare that things are perfectly fine. You get it? Another thing you can do is, a lot of the time I ask people who are your competitors. I never want to hear personally that you think you have no competitors, because even an Excel document is a competitor, okay? If you have a record-keeping application, how are you going to move from Excel to your application? That's a competitor. So usually if you think you have no problems or your customers are perfectly happy with what you're offering, reverse the question and think, okay, my competitors, what if we're not happy with what the service they're getting from them or the product? Why do they wish they had that we can then build our product on, right? And also sometimes you have to question, there's a reason your product is not in the market, because it's not useful, it's not viable commercially. So you have to also figure out a way to find out, why haven't my competitors who have more money, more resources, and everything more, why haven't they not done this yet? But hearing positive feedback only, approach with caution. People are liars. Okay, does anybody want to tell me why else product management is important? Or what you have learned from your customer feedback?
First, we haven't gotten any feedback, but then, campus, we offer online laundry services. you order and then we come and wash your clothes, especially for students, campus students. So I feel adoption is so paramount, and then a product manager will ensure that out there for us to know that actually the app is, people are adopting to it, the problems they are finding while using it, and all that, so that we can improve where necessary and adjust where necessary. Yeah. It's an app, yes. We chose an app because we feel it's way much better than a website. I mean, accessing it is easier than a website.
Okay. As a product manager, always ask yourself why 5 times. I don't want to put you on the spot, that's why I've left you, but I would ask you 5 whys on why do you think it's easier. I've not yet had the answer. You get, eh? So ask yourself, why is an app easier than a website? For you to build, for your users to use. I don't want to give you my personal bias. But how big is the average phone in terms of memory for a campus student? 64 GB, 32 GB, 64, 32. No one is saying 16, eh? Okay. How many of your friends, from 1 to 10, delete apps, especially when they're receiving pictures? Just food for thought. Okay, I need to wind up. So how do you succeed at product management? Okay, that is, you have to influence effectively between the customer, the technology, and the business. So, as I said, you speak the language of the business owners, the senior management team, you speak the language of the customer, and then because we're building technology products, you have to blend in well with the developers, otherwise they won't respect you. And no, you don't have to be a developer. And you don't have to have domain knowledge in the industry you're working in. That's why I told you earlier, I've worked in marketing, I've worked in agriculture, I've worked in consumer goods, I'm now working for an NGO. You don't have to have domain knowledge, you just have to be good at learning and good at picking up the cues, even non-verbal cues. Yeah, so you have to be the in-between, the intersection between, and then you have to be able to influence effectively. People have to listen to you and believe you about why you're convinced about a particular thing. Even with customers, you collect feedback and you tell them, we're going to work on it, in fact, in 2 weeks. And in 2 weeks come, and guess what? You have to reprioritize, you need more time. You have to be able to go back to the customer and kwewombeka and or tell them lies. But you have to be able to tell them, you know what, wait a moment, it's going to take some time, be patient, we have given you this in the meantime, that kind of stuff. Like the company I just joined, we work with technology vendors, you know, people that are building the apps. So everyone is telling me, oh, you need to start talking to these people because they speak so nicely to us, and then 2 weeks later, there's still nothing. That's the product manager's role. That's why I knew they were working with the product manager. They will listen to you so well and be like, we're going to work on this, and then 2 weeks later, have they worked on it? No, but you have to keep your customer happy-ish. So yeah, so how you get good is you do a lot of research, so you're always figuring out, in my industry, what are the things that are, you know, trending, what are the new things that have come out, who are my competitors? You always have competitors, and every day there's a new competitor. Okay, guys? Do not lie to yourselves, you have no competitors. Even for borders, Futsubishi is a competitor. You get, eh? Sometimes they're like, I'd rather walk than pay 5K. Especially campus kids, eh? They'll walk to Acacia, you know. But yeah, so all those are competitors, so you have to figure out who are my competitors and what are they doing, what are the other guys going to do. And then also on top of that, there is the big players, you know? Whatever idea you have, how quickly can Facebook do it and take you out of the market? How quickly can Google do it and take you out of the market? But then not just Google, how quickly can you know, Mama Nancha, if you will, how quickly can Shell replicate your idea and take you out of the market? You get it? Yeah. So research, then prioritization. You choose what is the most important that will give you quick wins in terms of what will get the customer happy and patient enough to wait for the other things, right? Then, as you can see, the larger portion of your life is literally meetings, or AKA stakeholder engagements. You're just talking and talking and talking and promising and promising and promising, and then you talk some more. So you'll be in a lot of meetings because you're meeting with the devs, you're meeting with the customers, you're meeting with your fellow staff, and you're keeping everybody at peace and in sync with what you want to be delivered. But yeah, that's it from me on product management. Thank you. In case you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, my time is up.
Thank you so much, Mercy. Any questions for her, or you're good? Oh, where's the other mic?
All right, first of all, thank you so much for the session. I would like to know, what does it take for a person to become a product manager? Because since we don't have one, I may also want to become one.
Join the league. First of all, Refactory has a short course that I also tutor in for product management. So in case you're interested in learning more, you can join that. But what it takes, as we said, empathy. You have to be able to put yourself in many different people's shoes and communicate to them effectively. Personally, one of the things I struggle with is communication. I'll read a message and forget to reply it. Same thing with an email. Or I'll be like, no, let me mark it as unread again so that I remember. Then a week passes, right? But you have to get really good at communicating about even every little milestone, right? People want to hear, a lot of people are expecting to hear from you as a product manager, so you have to be on top of those expectations, proactively communicate. Even before they ask, tell them this is the update on this. Even with a customer, be like, okay, we were working on this, it's going to take a while. That's how you get really good and very empathetic, because then people don't feel like they're begging you for information, right? You have to, empathy is key, very, very key. Because a lot of the time we don't understand people and we think we are the correct ones, especially as business owners, product builders. We're like, usually you're solving your personal pain point, so now you're only building for yourself, yet you're not going to pay the money you want, right? So you have to be able to listen to your customer and then work on that insight you've gotten from them. Another thing I would say is be open to learning, or maybe be open to not being stagnant. So I think I spend half of my time just on Googling. You have to know what's happening in your industry, but not just your industry. Sometimes things from another industry can actually apply to your industry. So, you know, what health tech is coming out? What are people in parliament talking about? Where is the money? Actually, sometimes follow the money, especially as new business owners or people who are just developing a new idea. You won't always have the personal cash to push it. So then you're like, okay, if I'm solving a particular thing, like for example, sexual reproductive health, if you know there's money, maybe in the refugee space, how do you make your thing accessible for refugees? Could help you get money for runway. So follow the money, but also follow where the industry is going. People are talking about AI now. I don't like talking about AI, personally, and machine learning, because many times it's just jazz. You get it? Nothing is really happening. It's just jazz. But right now, they actually are very good, like especially text-based AI tools that are out there. How do you incorporate that so that you can maybe get access to like Microsoft AI funding or Google Foundation AI funding? So follow the money, be very empathetic, listen, learn different skills. Like in university, I took marketing classes, I took management classes. I did do my computer science classes, but I also expanded my horizon. You get it? But yeah, you don't have to be technical to be a product manager. Remove that. You can work in FinTech without having an accounting background, without having a banking background. being a no-code person, just embrace the industry you're currently in and work with it. Any other questions?
So my question is about this term Scrum. You vaguely touched on it. I know it's used in the product life cycle, but how exactly is it used, and how exactly is it used in the product life cycle, Scrum?
Scrum is just one of the methodologies that people use to develop, right? So it's an agile thing, or lean, those words, right? But it's just a method people use to approach developing. If you approached product development in, we are going to build until we finish, you might never finish. Something new will always come up. So that's what Scrum helps with. Most Scrum has sprints, what they call sprints, which is just a certain period of time when what you said you have to do has to be finished. You get it? So usually companies work in 2-week sprints. Depending on how hectic your product is, it might become a 1-month sprint. But the sprint is, okay, in 14 days, but if you're working on normal working days, in 10 days, you remove the weekend. In 10 days, if we say that the app has to have mobile money, you start development for mobile money, and in 14 days, you are pushing out the code for mobile money into production. So Scrum helps you give, as if smart goals to your product development, yeah? You say, on this, starting from this Monday to the Friday 2 weeks from now, we have to have built the Momo integration, tested it, and pushed it into production in that 2-week window. Then you say, okay, so that way you can prioritize and say, we want to have digital payments. So the first sprint, the first 2 weeks of the month, we shall do Momo integrations. The next one is when we shall focus on card-based payments, versus saying we're going to do everything at one time, and then when you find problems, you get stuck on that problem forever. So that's what kind of Scrum helps with. It's just a way to approach development in 2-week or 1-month windows. Yeah.
We are looking at a product manager as someone who takes feedback from the user. And then I'm wondering, because there is a subject matter expert, could there be any difference between the product manager and the subject matter expert?
Usually you won't have a subject matter expert on stuff on the long run for just one product. They might end up being consultants, you get. Maybe if you're building in FinTech, you get someone who has been in the industry for a long time, and then they give you guidance on what has been currently happening in the industry, maybe what are the legal requirements you have to fulfill before you push out things like wallets and stuff like that. But they're not actually, it depends on how the company approaches it. Also, different companies have different terms for the thing, right? But usually the product manager is going to be there even besides being the subject matter expert. So I can build a FinTech product without knowing anything about financial services, because I'm biased, and I feel like it's even better to approach it like that when you know nothing, because you don't come with your inbuilt biases, right? Like you don't come with your idea of how things should be. You then kind of try to innovate within the space. So usually a subject matter expert has very important domain knowledge or technical knowledge on that industry, let's say e-commerce. Then you hire somebody like Ron, who has been in it for 8 years. But they won't exactly be maybe the best product manager for the entire life cycle of the product, because they're now very focused on how the industry has been operating. You get it? So the product manager is kind of like a guide that walks the product through to the end. They don't have to know everything about the product for it to work. Yeah. Questions? No questions? All right.
Thank you so much, Mercy. Thank you for sparing time to be with us this evening. I'm sure these people are going to be reaching out to you because it is really needed. Product management, without it, you can't move forward. You can't. You really need a product manager on your team. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, so next we are going now to resume our presentations, and Forex please come up. I'm going to request our facilitators to come in front so that we can go with our presentations. Go straight to the point, and it is here that we are standing so that he can get us, they can see us, and also the facilitators can see us. Let us try to be fast. Don't waste time, please, because we have very many teams, and it is very many teams that are still remaining. Forex, you're still seated. I'm going to request silence from the rest of us.
Thank you, and good afternoon. We'd like to apologize. Where we had done our work, the hard disk crashed over the weekend. That's why we presented handwritten, because it was a rough draft, sort of. But then we're working on the other final copy to submit tomorrow. But then to start with, we'd like to give our customer journey, which we hadn't yet uploaded because of the fault which we happened to share with Charlotte. But in our customer journey, first we had awareness. Customers are able to interact with the app because of the marketing ads or by word of mouth. Okay, so the first step was awareness. The second in the customer journey map was registration and onboarding. The customer is able to register into the system and create a password. The next step was login and instant access. So once the customer information has been verified, they're able to log in into the app. Then the next was viewing account information. They're able to interact with their account, and if they can upload funds or make transfers. So the next step was making transactions. That was the next journey in the customer app. They're able to make transactions, which is to upload funds, considering Forex Express is a cross-border payment platform for sending money